Hello, and welcome to 2020. I still wanted to say 2019, clearly. It's about the second week in January, and I've just now had the wherewithal to want to actually sit down and film something, and hopefully it goes well and the baby stays asleep, per every intro of every video you've ever seen in the last, 5 months. She's 5 months old. Hazel turned 5 months this week, so milestones. We're getting there. Almost half a year old. I can't actually believe it. So what is this video today? 2019 favorites slash most used products. Because sometimes it didn't come out in 2019 or I didn't discover it until 2019. Or as you know, if you've been following along on this channel, I've decluttered a lot of my makeup collection from years past when I was more active on this channel with my friend Krista, and we had that review going on and buying new stuff and all the hype and frenzy, which I don't do anymore because it's just me with my random videos and I don't have that income anymore. That's okay. So it's actually given me a great outlook on waste, consumerism, and instead of decluttering or recycling, using those as your last option and just not buying. So there we go. So these products are pretty much things I've had for the last year or two, and I've been making my way through them. Some of them are repurchased that I've continually repurchased and are still favorites, and I will let you know kind of all of that as I get to each product. So I just want to go in order of how you would apply makeup. I will also be doing a hair video separate, favorite hair products, because otherwise I'd have to do my hair in this video and talk about the products, and it's clean, but nothing's happened. Oh, the hair is different. This is about 3 weeks out. I threw color over the whole thing one day at work. I was just over it, and I didn't want to see highlights, and you can see them popping back out, but and I made my wife cut my hair while I was off between the two holidays. Yep, she's a very skilled and detailed measurer. She's got that, she's good at all the things. She's a jack of all trades, so she can cut hair too, right? No, I have very fine hair, so I just basically combed it in a straight line behind my shoulders, and I was whack off 3 inches. So darker, shorter, kind of a reset. Probably in the spring I might do something different. I'll probably color it dark one more time. And if you're a hairstylist or you know anything about color, I actually did use a 7 and it came out way darker. And so now we're about 3 weeks out and it's lightened to about what my natural color is, which is a dark blonde. So, all right, let's get into the 2019 Get Ready With Me favorites. We'll start with skincare, which I've already done, but I'm not gonna tell you my whole routine. I'm just gonna tell you my favorite skincare product of 2019, which is the Kiehls Iris Extract Activating Treatment Essence. Essentially, this is a toner. So this is your first step after you cleanse. So you do your cleanser, you come in and then you pop this on first. It kind of refreshes. This one says that it creates a more smoother radiant skin for a more youthful look, which I do turn 44 this year, so I will take the youthful look. So this you actually put in your hands, which is great. No waste, right? You're not using a cotton round, and you just press it into your skin. So that's the first thing you do after you cleanse. So that's my skincare favorite that's already happening. I've already done all my skincare. So the next step after skincare before makeup would be primer. I'm not a huge primer user. I'm not opposed to it. I just don't usually find it that necessary for me, especially now in my life. Now, when I was in a band and I would work all day and then play a gig and I knew that I couldn't take my face makeup off, I would use something that was gonna make everything adhere more. I don't really have that life anymore, so I got a sample of this. My wife bought me, we weren't supposed to do Christmas presents, but she bought me some makeup from Ulta, and they had a sampler where you get a bag, a makeup bag, and it's filled with samples. And one of the samples was the Becca, what are you called? First Light Priming Filter. This is the mini guy. And really, this to me just feels hydrating. It's supposed to be an instant complexion refresh. So just put a little bit of that in my fingers and then just spread it around pre-foundation. It does feel really nice and it smells really good. And because I did my skincare about an hour ago, it's kind of nice to kind of give your face a fresh little base right before foundation. So if you follow on my Instagram, this next product will be no surprise. I've already started making my 2019 favorites, which I've popped into my highlights on my Instagram. And so this is my favorite foundation of the year. This is the Physicians Formula healthy foundation. I did a whole review on this. I'll link it up if I can, if I have the time to actually edit properly, which we all know. It's a lofty idea I always have. But I did put this on my Instagram. Follow me at the Erin Alexis Show, where I am much more active than here on YouTube, and you can see my product picks and recommendations, and sometimes I do little mini tutorials on IGTV. But this was my favorite foundation of the year. It's almost empty. I'm quite proud of that. It's really hard to go through a whole foundation. So I'm gonna apply that. It has this big doe foot applicator. What I like about this is that it is a natural finish. So it's not super dewy, and it's not matte, because I don't wear any matte foundation. I'm too old. That's dry. It is a medium, I would say it's a buildable medium coverage, meaning you could do one thin layer like this and then buff it all in, come back, and it would be like a light coverage. Come back with that second layer and you get more of a medium. So we're gonna go ahead, let's get my mirror in. Go ahead and do that. This is the Real Techniques buffing brush. I may as well mention my brush favorites. They're just always, they're like perennial favorites. I am doing a brush declutter if you are following on Instagram once again. And I just went through my whole brush collection and basically cleaned every brush that I think I would like to keep. And this is one of the foundation brushes I kept. So you can see like immediately it tones down my blotchy redness that I have. It was a little redder today because I did a little in-shower exfoliation. So it kind of like brought all that redness to the skin. So quick layer. I always, with this foundation, go back in on my cheeks with a little bit more. But that is something I like about this foundation, is I can do that. And it doesn't look cakey. And it doesn't look too heavy, like too makeup-y. I hope this lighting is okay. I have my ring light on pretty low. And I have no natural light right now in this room because I've talked about this before. This room has the most bizarre window placement in the whole earth. You can see there's one behind me. And if I place my vanity there, there's a weird shadowing that occurs, and I'm not like technical enough to understand what the hell's going on. So I was like, no. And the place that it looks the best is this window that's directly over here. But then all you see behind me are like 500 doors. So I don't know what I'm doing in this room. If you could see what was happening in here, it's a living nightmare. Every eyeshadow palette I own is currently on the floor. If you follow my Instagram, that's gonna be the theme today. You will see that I took a picture. I actually forgot like 3 palettes, so I need to edit that and add those in. Of every eyeshadow palette I still currently own, which is, I think, 21, which sounds like a lot, but that's literally probably half of what I used to own. I've whittled it down, and I'm in a pretty good place where I know there are some that are just nostalgic and they're just gonna go in a drawer and they live there and they're just for memory's sake. Like the first video we ever did was with the chocolate bar palette from Too Faced, Krista and I. So I'm never gonna give that up because that video is hysterical, because it's just a nightmare of us like yelling at each other and like being nuts, and we were probably drunk on wine. But it's just got great memories. And then there's like a couple gifts that one was from Krista, there's some from my wife, like, things that are kind of sentimental to me, or things from the show. But other than that, it's gonna get hardcore, man. I don't want any large pan palette. I don't want anything more than a 6-pan palette to live in my life. I am going to use the things that I have that I still enjoy, but I'm not allowing any more to come into my life. Okay, speaking of, you're going to see my favorite eyeshadow palette of 2019, but we're first going to start with my favorite brow product. I had been using the NYX Micro Brow, and I do love that product, and I definitely would still repurchase it, but I've now repurchased twice the Covergirl, where are you? What do you call it? Brow, it's got a weird name. Something like a brow define and something. It's this one. I did a little mini tutorial. This is the color soft blonde, I believe, or natural blonde, something like that. It's kind of a taupey shade. This and the runner-up, and why this one is the runner-up, and solely the only reason, the MAC Shape and Shade. Oh, I do love it. If I have it on my desk, I may have tossed it. It runs out so quickly, and so does this, and they're different animals. Like the MAC one is more of like that like felt tip liner kind of marker brow fill, which I really like it. But it just runs out so quickly, and it's $21. This runs out quickly too, but I think it's like $7. And this lasts longer than that one. So it's just, the MAC one tends to dry up. So solely based on price and longevity, that's my number 2. So we're going to go in with the Covergirl. I mean, it's affordable and it does the job, and I'm happy with the shade and all that good stuff. So here is my little sneak peek of my favorite eyeshadow palette of 2019, which is Drugstore. And it has the dirtiest, this thing, you guys know. I'm actually going to just apply my brows and then meet you back here in a minute. All right, now that I have brows on, you can see the huge difference a brow makes. Let's move into my 2019 favorite eyeshadow palette. I'm saying palette because I don't know about you, but I don't have many singles anymore, and I'm kind of like wanting to go back to that. I have a Z palette in front of me that I will probably talk to you guys about in a future video. I want to like show a whole room declutter of what I've been working on here. So I'll show you the Z palette I have, which is a Z palette filled with Makeup Geek eyeshadows that I literally just never use because it was tucked in a drawer, and they're like perfectly great. Like there's one that has pan, but other than that, there's like 18 shadows in there that I never use. So I want to use those. So they are actually sitting on my desk right now. But I don't have many single shadows because that kind of fell by the wayside with like the creation of like the big palettes, like the Naked palettes, and you know, with like all like Morphe coming out with like these big like 35 pan palettes, which I do have 2 of, and we will get into that and why I still have those. But you know, like single shadows kind of fell by the wayside. Where you used to go to MAC and like pick out your favorite shadows. Like Trax was one of my favorite shadows. I don't even have that anymore. Beauty Marked, which is like a black that had like red glitter in it, because we're talking like, you know, mid 2000s, little emo phase there. But you know, those things where you would like know that and you would make your little pan or whatever, put it in a Z palette. Now you just buy, even MAC has like giant palettes. I mean, you could still obviously buy their single shadows, but like we've kind of forgotten to like curate. Because, you know, you look at like let's say a Morphe palette that has 35 shadows in it. How many of those are you actually using? 10, you know, max. So going on a whole, you know, tirade about that. But anyways, my favorite eyeshadow palette was the Milani Soft and Sultry. I really had to think about this. Like, is this my favorite? Like, is it truly my favorite? And you can see which shade is actually my favorite, which is this one right here, which I think is called Come Hither. I was very into taupey shades the last half of the year, and now, like, I've kind of been wearing a taupe sort of eye. I'll swatch this guy for you pretty much every day. It's very flattering, you know, kind of like as taupe does. It's brown, it's gray, it's silver, it's metallic-y. Like, I just love it. It's flattering on a green eyeball, probably flattering on most eyeballs. But yeah, so this was something that I always took with me when I traveled to Michigan. Because you know, any of these are good for like throwing in the crease, you know, and either popping on one of these guys was usually my go-to. If I wanted to darken up my lash line, I had that option. So this is a $20 palette. At the time, I think it was $19.99 when I purchased it. I think I bought this in 2019, but it's very likely I could have bought it at the end of 2018. I cannot remember, because I've been very proud of the fact that I've only bought like one eyeshadow palette in 2019, and it is the Anastasia Subculture. Because I know I had the Norvina palette in my 2018 favorites, because Krista and I did that video together. So it very well may that I may have bought this in 2019. So this one Drugstore palette, one high-end palette that I purchased for the entire year. I know some people, well, probably not if you're watching this, but like that is insane to some people and amazing to other people. I don't know. Like, I feel very proud of that I literally survived. Like, you don't need to buy something new all the time, right? And look how unused this is, because I've got other things that I used, you know, the Naked Smoky and the Naked Cherry. Like, you've seen me use those on this channel, and I tried to do Vlogmas, but I gave up for personal reasons and mental health reasons and just too many things, and I just needed a break of trying to do too many things. So anyways, back to this 2019 pick for me because of its versatility, its price, and I love the big mirror. And it's just all around was my favorite of 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick simple eye. I am going to work later in like 2 hours. I have a couple of haircut clients, and then whatever. I'm getting over cold, like whatever. I'm not feeling that glam today, but we're going to pop on. This is what I would do on like a normal, like I'm just gonna get ready quickly for work kind of a vibe. So I'm gonna take that shadow that I just showed you guys, Come Hither shade, and I'm gonna just pop that all over the lid. What I like about shades that are, it's not super metallic, but it is definitely like more on the shimmery side, satiny side. It isn't matte. God no, it's not matte. And it's not really satin. I feel like satin is like a matte with a sheen, but it's not overly metallic. And what I do is I just pop it all over the lid, just like that. Go with the other eyeball, pop that all over with a flat shader brush. This is one of the brushes that I ended up setting on my vanity because I do use this one a lot. This is just a Wet n Wild Drugstore affordable brush. Oh yeah, we're really getting into the pan now. Oh God, am I gonna have to buy this again just for this shade? See, that's where you get into trouble, right? Where you buy these palettes. Now this shade, which is my favorite shade, is clearly pan, right? Now what? Do I have to buy this whole thing because I love that shade? Like, what's wrong with this? The collective us. So now I just take another one of my fave brushes, this sodium caustic brush that I've had for like, I don't know, 6 years. And then I just fluff the edges. I'm not even gonna add another color. Just gonna fluff that out, blend it out. Just make it a little bit more smoky. You don't wanna leave it like this where it's just right there. And then what I do after this is I just go back in with a little bit more on my lid in case I've lost some of that intensity that I want. And then it's done. Now, if you wanted to just do, I love a monochromatic eyeball, just one color. It's often what I do. If you want to make it a little more dramatic, you know, go ahead and pop a liner on. Pop black eyeliner, liquid liner on, or pop a smudgy, like, kohl liner on to give it a little bit more drama. I'm not doing that today. I'm just going to re-intensify the lid a little bit. And then that's it. And then I highlight my brow bone once I get into my highlighting. So there's that. So 2019 Soft and Sultry by Milani. You can probably get it for less than 20 bucks at this point. I'm going to try to link things. If I find it somewhere cheaper, I will put that link down there. Let's talk about these sleeves. This was a purchase from Boohoo, which if you don't know what Boohoo is, it's kind of like an affordable fashion, like fast fashion. I think they're out of the UK brand. I love the balloon sleeve, love it. This is a dress, but on me it's more of like a shirt, so it kind of fits me in a weird way. So I haven't really worn it like outside of my home. I just threw it on to film, but I wanted to do like a whole haul and like try on review of them, but there were only like 4 pieces out of like the 7 or 8 that I ordered that I really ended up liking. So the 4 that I like, but the 4 that I didn't like, well, I really don't like. So I just ended up not doing it. Clothing hauls are not easy for me because number one, I don't have a camera anymore, and like it's hard to film. Like now when I go to Target or somewhere, I have to take the baby with me, so like I can't guarantee her cooperation. So it's just like it's a lot of work for me, and even though I love fashion and I'm a hairstylist, so I dress up every day, this is a hard one for me. Okay, rambles. I feel like I haven't been here in a while, so I got like a lot of stuff to say. So eyeshadow, next for me, I'm weird, I do mascara last. I don't know if anybody else does that. So the next thing for me would be like my face, like my blush, bronzer, highlight. So I have 2 bronzer favorites, and I actually only own 3 bronzers, technically. I own this, which I think I'm going to finally let go of, the Hourglass bronzer that I've had for years that I don't actually really like, but haven't like gotten rid of it because it was expensive. So we all know I love the L'Oreal True Match Lumi bronzer, and I hate the packaging. Literally hate it so much. It breaks every single time, and then what happens is, because I have monster hands, is that when I go to like put the lid back on, I clomp, 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 because it's like not attached anymore. So I love this, love the pan size, love the price. I do believe it's under $10, and I like the tone of it, and it's got a slight shimmer, which for me, slight shimmer I like because I'm kind of dry, so it provides a little bit of like luminosity for me. But I did discover a cream bronzer that I really, really like. Where'd he go? I tend to wear this more in the summer. This is the Bare Minerals Pro Glow Bronzer in Faux Tan. It's the lighter shade. I believe there's only 2 of these. This was expensive. This was, I think, $30 or close to. But you need 1 pump, and it works for wherever you need to bronze. So, cream bronzer favorite, powder bronzer favorite. I do have, I don't know where to put this guy, and like, I don't know if I'd call him a favorite, but I don't really like powder, so I have this like MAC Sculpt, what are you called? I like it. Studio Fix Sculpt and Shape Contour Palette. As you can see, I like this light shade Emphasize. I put it under my eyeballs. I highlight with it. But I do occasionally, if I'm just doing quick things, use, you know, usually these two mixed together as I would use it as a bronzer. But it is not my go-to nor my favorite. But I'm not going to declutter him because I like to have the option. So let me go on with my 2019, which was probably also my 2018 favorite bronzer because I have repurchased this, I think only twice in like 2 years. So if you think about that, like I used it for like a whole year before I had to repurchase. And you can see he's hitting pan. So I just swirl a big old brush in there. Big brush equals less density. And I just bronze up my ghostly old lady face. So I didn't really like set any goals for the new year because that's dumb. And for me, because that's not gonna happen. I mean, I have goals, I guess, but I don't have like resolutions. Goal 1 is obvious, that I want to use less products. I want to create less waste by buying less. Now, the buying less is by choice, but also not by choice. It's kind of nice when things happen and the universe makes you like take a step and take a beat and, you know, like assess yourself and your life and make changes. So because financially I can't just like do whatever I want anymore because I have a baby and I don't work very much. I work about 15 hours a week, 15 to 20 hours a week. It's just not, it's not in my budget, and that's okay. And I have plenty of things. Like I could probably go a full another year without buying a single piece of something. Like, of course I buy mascara and like foundation because I actually use those. But like powders and stuff that I don't actually use, like Hazel hears me. So now I'm gonna move on to blush, which my most used blush. I guess most used is also favorite. We're gonna pause and see if she stops crying. So friends, while I was in the middle of filming my 2019 favorites video, I had to stop and take care of an angry baby. And then I basically ran out of time and had to go to work. So now it is 8 o'clock. I just got home from work and I'm gonna finish filming it because freaking crap. Like I already put like a half an hour of effort into it. So I'm gonna finish tomorrow, but it'll just kind of, you know, it'll just be like piecemeal. So anyways, I just wanted to like pop in here and say, yep, that's life now. I can't even film a favorites video without somebody angrily screaming at me and not allowing me to do what I need to do, which I guess fine. She's pretty cute. Okay, so I'm back. I'm going to talk very quietly and hope that I have 5 minutes to finish my 2019 favorites. So I hurry up and put all my makeup on, and so everything I have on is the same as it was the other day, with addition to like the rest of the products that I'm going to talk about because I don't have time to show you them like going on my face. So I think I left off with talking about bronzer and I was going to talk about blush, but then I realized I forgot concealer. And this was a big one for me. I rediscovered this in 2019 and I've been using it consistently. Like I've repurchased it like 3 times, and that's the Maybelline Age Rewind. And I have this in the shade Light. They do have other ones like I think the brightener or neutralizer, but I just go for Light. And this really has great coverage and does not ever look cakey. So best concealer for me for 2019, Maybelline Age Rewind. Okay, moving on. I was about to talk about blush. I'm not a blush girl. I've talked about this before. Like it's not my thing. Like I wear it, but I don't like a really saturated color. I don't really like it to show up. So when I really looked at my collection, and what I was using is this, the Physicians Formula Butter Blush in Plum Rose. I don't know if they make this still because I've had it for several years. So I don't even know if they make it still, but it's a very just soft, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it, like dusty pink. And it smells really good. So favorite blush. So after blush, of course, would be highlight. And you know, I have a problem that I love this weird highlighter that's been gone forever. It's the Fergie collection with Wet n Wild, probably came out in 2015. I had found that I had an unopened one. And it's just a baked formula, and it's my favorite highlight. I don't know what I'm gonna do when this one dies. You probably can't even see it. But that's kind of the point. I do have it on. So this is my favorite highlight of my entire life. Runner-up is the Becca Rose Quartz. It's just a beautiful pink shimmery highlight. It's definitely more intense than the Wet n Wild one, as Becca highlighters are. But it's definitely pink. It's like an icy pink. I hear rumblings of people that live here, so I'm gonna hurry up. And then after blush, highlight, bronzer, and I'm all done with my face stuff, I move on to my mascara and I finish my eyes with mascara last. I just do that last because I don't like any powder to like get involved. And that of course is the Lash Paradise from L'Oreal. I am linking all of my favorites into my Instagram, the Erin Alexis Show, into my 2019 highlights. So you can, if you miss anything, go there. Try to link it below when I edit this, but if I don't, it's there. And the baby's crying. So last but not least, lip product. Really been into glosses this year, and my favorite lip gloss, which I can't find right now, is the Dose of Colors gloss in, I forget the color, but I will link it. Favorite lip product was these L'Oreal liquid lips. I never know what they're called. They look like this with the gold bar. I will find what they're called and write them down. I have 3 of them. I have this Dusty Mauve, which I have on. They go on very thin. Lighting. Nope, okay. They go on very thin. I don't have time for any of this to be happening, but of course it is. I'll wait. The baby's crying. Anyways, these with the gold cap. L'Oreal liquid lip. I do realize that most of this was Drugstore, and I did not plan that out. But there you are. You're welcome. My favorites for 2019. Again, follow my Instagram at the Erin Alexis Show. I'm going to pop all my favorites into my highlights, and I will list them below. Thank you for staying tuned for this very chopped up, kind of insane person video.